At UFC 309, we watched Bo Nickal beat Paul Craig 30-27 on all three judges' scorecards. Now, watching it live, I did score it 29-28 for Bo Nickal. Upon watching it back, I could see the argument for a 30-27 scorecard. Not a big problem, although all three rounds were pretty competitive for the most part. Now, in this interview with Ariel Helwani, Bo Nickal, in my opinion, is being completely and totally delusional. I kept seeing clips, so I figured I would watch the interview, and then I figured we would do a react video to it because he is saying some absolutely ridiculous things. He is contradicting himself on more than one occasion, so I want to go over all of that. Now, full disclosure, I do and have always thought that Bo Nickal was a little delusional. Okay, this is the same guy that said he could beat up a chimp. The problem is that we've not had a performance by him that got critiqued by more than just the fan base, and it's probably because this is the first time he fought somebody that's actually had an established career in the UFC rather than them just bringing in a Val Woodburn or something like that, literally to get beat up by Bo Nickal, So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over this interview. I've picked out a few moments that I want to play that I think just put the delusion on full display and most of his contradictions and all that stuff, and we will react to it. So let's get to that right now. Here we are at 108. So the delusion starts early in this interview, very early.
It's a little bit jarring, if you don't mind me saying, Bo, to see you like this. I don't remember you ever having any kind of marks on your face. So the lips, the eye, how do you feel on this Monday?
I feel good. The thing that hurts the worst, honestly, is my freaking shin. He checked one of my kicks, and that doesn't feel great. But yeah, other than that, I feel awesome. I don't really feel like I took
that picture right there. I'm pausing it way too quickly. I was gonna get to this later when he talks about how people that he respected are giving him nothing but good feedback. This picture is, in my opinion, a perfect display of a legitimate criticism towards Bo Nickal. What this picture reminds me of is Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. You've got a guy in Aljamain Sterling who does not have good boxing, does not have good striking, although Aljamain Sterling's got much better kicks, in my opinion, than a guy like Bo Nickal. But if you were fighting somebody that was not named Paul Craig, I mean, bro, pull back right hand all day. Are you kidding me? Nasruddin Imavov, what do you think he would do with that? It's that's a perfect picture right there too. That is a legitimate criticism that one could have, but apparently Bo Nickal's not open to that because it wasn't coming from his coaches at Penn State or whatever.
took any damage at all other than me hitting him. My left hand's a little swollen and my shin's swollen from kicking him, but other than that, I feel awesome. So yeah, I think most of the damage was done from me hitting him.
True, dude. Most of the damage was done from you hitting him, so that cut on your nose must have been your own fist bouncing off his head and then hitting you in the face. The audacity to say that while you sit there with a pretty, decent shiner and a cut on your nose is quite hilarious, but either way.
Okay, so now 48 hours later, I thought you handled the aftermath of the fight very, very well. And I know you're as elite as far as being a competitor as possible. Like you are your toughest critic, and you don't get to where you have been without being that kind of guy. How do you assess your performance?
I'm super happy with my performance. I feel like that was definitely just a real valuable experience for me and my development. And I think that the way I won was a pretty big boost to my confidence, knowing that I can go in there against a guy that has 26 or 27 pro MMA fights, however many, 10, 12 years of experience, and shut him out for 15 minutes. So I feel like, yeah, maybe the crowd didn't like it because I didn't knock him out or submit him or whatever it was, but I don't really feel like I took any damage. I looked at the scorecards after the fight.
Again, I don't feel like I took any. The audacity to sit there with a giant shiner and say I don't think I took any damage, but there's this narrative that keeps getting painted by Bo fans, Bo Nickal, and all the rest of it, and they'll discuss the experience of his opponent in Paul Craig, and they'll discuss the experience of Bo Nickal. Bro, you're in the UFC. I don't give a fuck if you only have 7 fights, with all due respect. If you don't want to be fighting guys that are like the best fighters in the world, go fight at PFL. Get some experience there, then pull up to the UFC. Because at this point, you're getting babied. And the problem I think a lot of people have is that you have been getting babied, and then you have a performance like that. So it's like confirmation bias. Like everybody that already thought that was the case is seeing that. And then you have Dana White at the post-fight press conference talking about how, he's going to need time and all the rest of it. And, the amount of fights that Paul Craig has keeps getting, touted out here as a reason why we should be, I guess, maybe easier on Bo Nickal, or I don't know, but He's 9-1 in the UFC. You know, Paul Craig's been around for a long time. I get it, and he's beaten some good guys. I mean, he submitted Magomed Ankalaev. Okay, he dislocated Jamal Hill's or broke his arm, whatever it was, in the armbar that he had. Like, he's got some good names on his resume, but he has a 500 record. He is 9-9 in the UFC with 1 draw. So it's just, you know, yeah, you good. You finally fought a guy that they didn't literally sign for you to beat up, but this is what we got. And I don't mind him saying that this is a good boost for his confidence and stuff like this. This is the kind of delusion that I think helps a fighter, where you're like, yep, dude, I did really well. But to say I shut him out, I dominated all the rest of it, it's like, okay, dude.
Like not the scorecards, but the statistics. And I have no idea where they were pulling his significant strikes from, because I mean, I blocked every single kick he threw. He landed maybe 1 or 2 strikes with his hands that were insignificant, and I felt like I completely dominated the fight. And that was, I think, a really difficult way for me to win, considering.
That's insane. He 1 or 2 strikes with the hands that were insignificant. I don't know what kind of insignificant strike does that to an eye or cuts the nose, right? I've got the stats right here. He did, like, just watching that first round, I don't think these statistics are are crazy by any stretch. Paul Craig was landing good body kicks. He was landing good inside leg kicks, right? He was he was landing all sorts of shit. And then if you look up the breakdown of strikes, it makes perfect sense. Also, he landed some headshots, but this is what most of the strikes were to the legs and to the body. So I don't know why he's acting like it's 15 significant strikes is crazy to say, or 13, whatever it is, when most of them were to the leg and the body, and they very clearly landed. It's, you know, but this guy's insane, dude.
My skill set and the way my other fights have gone. You know, how many times do you see a guy fight against a big test, a big step up, and get tired or start to get pieced up or get taken advantage of in areas that he's not as well versed in. So I'm really proud of my performance and happy with it.
Why did you not shoot for a single takedown?
I didn't need to. You know, I was winning the striking, and at the end of the day, let's look at Paul Craig's resume, his record, the stats, the film study, and every single big fight he's won has been from his back. And so why would I put myself in a position where he's in his,
Now, this is a fair point. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because we've got about, some boring stuff in between here, but he's correct. You know, I didn't need to. Why would I? Although you looked like this is the problem people are having. Well, we'll get to it. I'm going to skip ahead about a minute or so. Here we go.
Yeah.
We've heard boos in the middle of fights before. That's nothing new. But to hear the Garden chant overrated, what are you thinking in that moment?
You know, it was funny to hear the chants. It almost just made me laugh, because the crowd and the people that are doing that, I'm looking at. I'll explain it this way: when you get disrespected by people that, in my opinion, have no idea what they're talking about, it's almost a compliment. And
okay, fair enough. I don't mind him saying that at all, right? You're in an arena full of a bunch of like drunk people. A few people start a chant, everybody else tags along, whatever, you know. Although there's probably a lot of people in that arena that also train. Just because they're spectators doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about inherently or necessarily, right? But that's fine, fair enough. You're not taking that criticism seriously. But he's going to immediately contradict himself right after this, which is just, it's crazy to me. You know what? I don't even know if delusion's the right word for a lot of these fighters. A lot of these fighters have a problem with a lack of self-awareness, because delusion is to an extent helpful. If if being like delusionally confident, you need to be. But when you have zero self-awareness whatsoever, when you go and say something like this, yeah, I don't really give a shit about what drunk idiots say about my performance, and then you go on to say something completely and totally opposite to that, it's just like, what the fuck? Hold on. How does that not replay in your head? And you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say that.
So, to feel that from the crowd, it almost just made me laugh, because it's like somebody insulting you who has no idea what's going on. So I'm like, all right, well, it's just almost a compliment to me, because I feel like I controlled the fight. I did everything I needed to do. And if I have a bunch of idiot drunk fans that they don't like the way it's going, I think that that's actually probably a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not I don't necessarily disagree with that. It could be, first of all, Bo, like, you know what you're talking about when it comes to wrestling, but your striking clearly needs some work. It's funny because Helwani showed that picture. I literally had screenshotted or, paused the fight on that moment to point out later because I was like, Jesus Christ, dude. There's probably a bunch of people in this arena that weren't drunk and saw this and were like, ugh, ugh. But
In the moment, is it phasing you at all? Are you bothered by it, annoyed by it?
No, I'm happy with it. I think that when I watched the fight back, something that was a little disappointing was the commentary and just kind of hearing the way that they were looking at the fight, and it made me feel like they didn't really know what was going on as much.
that is a complete and total this contradicts what he just said. I understand. If you don't want to take the word of a bunch of drunk fans chanting overrated, that's fine. And you want to view that as whatever. But then when you talk about the commentary team, you're talking about a guy in Daniel Cormier who was a 2-division champion in the UFC, a guy who, if you and him were to have a boxing match, he would probably knock you out cold, right? A guy who has very high level wrestling experience as well. Bo Nickal knows this, obviously. You've got a guy in Joe Rogan who, while I don't like his commentary, is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, has a black belt in Taekwondo, right? Knows striking, knows grappling, knows what he's watching. 100% he does, despite his commentary being a little outdated, perhaps. And then you've got a guy in John Anik who's been commentating on the sport for years, like a decade, more than a decade. So it's one thing about the fans, the drunk fans in the arena, but then you go and be like, well, these guys that absolutely know what the fuck they're talking about don't know what they're talking about. When you just got here, bro, you can't use the I'm new shit excuse and then also be like, yeah, but that guy who is a 2-division weight champion has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. What? How do you square that circle, bro? I don't understand it.
Much because anybody that I've talked to that are people that I trust and know shoot straight with me, they're like, dude, you like shut that guy out. Domination, it was a flawless victory. And
you should get new people you trust. And yeah, I drink water out of a giant fucking measuring cup. Get over it. You should get new people that you trust then. Right? Because I understand your coaches or whoever being like positive with you getting a victory over Paul Craig, but there should be some level of constructive criticism. Maybe they'll get into it when they go to the gym and he starts training again or he gets into a new camp. But like, my guy, if your coach ain't pointing that out, well, I know he's got Mike Brown in his corner, but he fights out of Penn State. I think this guy needs to stop doing that, if I'm being honest. But if all they're saying is you shut him out, complete domination, you need new fucking coaches, dude. Sounds like you've got a bunch of yes men. Because this would have been the first thing I pointed out to you. I would have been like, my guy, if you're fighting Nasruddin Imavov right there, that right hand is you're probably getting slept. You're probably getting slept. And honestly, not just Nasruddin Imavov, but the reason I'm thinking of Imavov is because he can grapple very well. And he's big. So if you didn't really want to grapple Paul Craig because you were concerned about what he could do off his back and you thought you were doing well on the feet, well, if you do this against a guy that can also grapple but can also strike, because Paul Craig fucking sucks on the feet, with all due respect, you're going to sleep. You just are. So it's crazy to me that if you trust these people and they're saying that shit, I mean, you should get new people that you trust, because just because you want to fight doesn't mean there's nothing to draw from it. It doesn't mean there's not anything you could fix.
To hear things like, DC say, oh, he's not ready for Hamza. And I think he was kind of trying to like be respectful, but also trying to like, I don't know, maybe like set me down a peg.
Now, I don't know if Daniel Cormier was trying to set him down a peg. Maybe like subconsciously he was. But it's just because you've been so vocal, my guy. You've been the one talking about how you would absolutely roll through Hamzat. You would roll through this guy. You would roll through that guy. You would roll through all these dudes. Easy fights, you say, and shit like this. This is what I mean. Like, I've not liked Bo Nickal for a while. I think he is delusional. Like, truly. And whatever. Maybe a little bit arrogant. But anybody that thinks they can beat up a chimp has to be fucking arrogant. He's just pointing it out, I think, because That was the kind of talks that were being had about you. And it was largely because of you. And by the way, Daniel Cormier is right. You would probably get... Dude, Khamzat Chimaev is not he's not like some high-level striker. I think Khamzat Chimaev would destroy Bo Nickal at this point. I do. I think he would. He might even do it. He might even be able to choke him out or something. Just, crazy. I just find it insane to me that he's like, yeah, the fans don't know what they're talking about. They're drunk fucking idiots. But also Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan don't know what they're looking at. They don't understand, dude. Dude, people forget, man. My performance against Paul Craig on the feet, fucking chef's kiss. People don't understand. Fans don't get it. Fans don't know what they're looking at, dude. Fans just don't know what they're looking at.
It was just weird to hear. But I just feel like the people that I know, they're in my corner, who would give me honest, genuine feedback. They're very happy with the victory. I was very happy with the victory. And so that's what I really care about at the end of the day. But it was a little disappointing to hear some of those comments from people that I respect a lot.
So you probably watched the whole fight again, right?
This is fucking hilarious. I forgot about this. I was about to skip ahead. I'm so glad I didn't. Because he goes on about all that, about the commentary and how they don't know what they're looking at. And the confidence that he answers this question with makes me think that he might be bending the truth a little bit. The last fucking truth bender. Bo Nickal.
Those comments from people that I respect a lot.
So you probably watched the whole fight again, right?
Well,
what the fuck? Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't gonna. Yeah, I mean, I watched it back, but it was.
Yeah. Well, about that. Yeah, I watched it back. Fucking hell, dude. Jesus Christ, that is funny. That was funny. I'm so glad I didn't skip ahead.
The whole fight again, right?
Well, I wasn't gonna. Yeah, I mean, I watched it back, but it was very brief, like that night, and I just kind of.
He lied. He won't even look the phone in the fucking eyes. That's how uncomfortable this dude is right now. He goes, fuck, dude. Yeah, totally. I watched that shit back. Imagine you're FaceTiming with someone and he's just like, yeah. Oh, yep. Well, fuck. God, I want to watch that back one more time.
Comments from people that I respect a lot.
So you
He's looking him right in the eye when Helwani's asking the question.
probably watched the whole fight again, right?
Well, I wasn't gonna. Yeah, I mean, I watched it back, but it was very brief, like that night, and I just kind of. I'll watch it back, a lot more moving forward. So I want to get a better assessment of what was going on. So I've only watched it back once, but yeah,
Okay.
I did.
So in other words, he probably saw shit online. He goes back to looking the phone right in the face, by the way. He probably heard shit online about the commentary team, or heard clips, or saw clips or something, and was like, what the fuck, dude? Because obviously, if he'd watched the fight back, him and his coaches would be like, oof, that's a bit rough, dude. I don't know that we should be, either way.
Just wondering what that experience is like, where, all right, you hear the boos and stuff. Okay, let me watch this for myself. And you're clearly happy with your performance. Your coach, you have a great team, obviously. I mean, they've seen it all and done it all in the sport. And then you watch it, and you're still happy, but then you hear from people that you respect criticism. Does that bum you out?
It just is weird to me. I'm just kind of like trying to figure out what was going on in their mind. I'm like, what were you guys watching? And how is it different from what I saw? Because I'm also not only watching myself, but I'm getting feedback from some of the best minds in the sport and people who I really respect. So I'm like, what was going on in these guys' heads? It almost makes me just feel like they don't know what was happening. I'm like,
bro, you just don't understand the mastery. This is like this. What's another thing coming to mind? Not just Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley. This is like Eddie Alvarez, Conor McGregor, and if he genuinely asked that question to himself, like, fuck, what did these guys see that I'm not seeing? What did these guys see that my coaches aren't seeing? And then went and tried to find that out for himself. That'd be one thing. And I would actually applaud him for that. But that's not what he's doing. He's going, what the fuck? It makes me think these guys don't know what they're watching, dude. Yeah. My wrestling coach from Penn State, dude, said I did fantastic. So, fuck these guys. With all due respect, no. Figure it the fuck out. Watch the fight back. Realize that all you have on the feet is the feint of a level change that he wasn't. You know what was driving me crazy? I think he could have knocked out Paul Craig. And not because I think he should have been more aggressive or whatever. And right in the third round, he landed a good shot. He talks about this in this interview at one point. Not because of anything like that. all he had to do, in my opinion, is to sell the level change feint a little bit more. Grab a fucking leg. He kept going like this. And then we see this, you know, actually we've seen this with a few people recently. Kayla Harrison is a good example of this. Once you stop maybe a couple takedowns, she's kind of screwed. She's got one fucking entry. Erin Blanchfield, a good example of this. Now, she did just have a good performance against Rose Namajunas, but when you watch her fight before that, I can't even remember the chick, Manon Fiorot. She has one entry. One entry. And, you know, Bo Nickal as well. He feints the level change a little bit and then overhand right into like a stance switch, basically. So he'll feint the level change, throw an overhand left, and then all of a sudden he's in orthodox now. And with Kayla Harrison, it's similar. She doesn't have a whole lot of setups because she's not been actually pushed in this sport. Well, I mean, she has once or twice, but you know, it's fucking crazy to me. That's what I would be, you know, that's the kind of shit I would be like, okay, maybe I need a new setup to land that. If I wasn't able to land that as cleanly as I was able to against some of these other guys, maybe I should try and do it. Or in the fight, if I would have just sold the level change a little bit more, because you never really actually shot. So the threat kind of eventually, it's like your opponent will be like, okay, well, he's pretending like he's going to, but he's not even once a single time this whole fucking fight. This is what Ilia Topuria is very good at. Ilia Topuria in the first round against Max Holloway shot a takedown and got him down. And then he didn't go back to it because he was like, now I've planted the fucking seed. I'm going to feint a level change. And in the finishing sequence against Max Holloway, he feinted a level change right before he threw the finishing combination. And it gets your opponent being like, ah, fuck, what's he going to... You know, that's what Max Holloway was probably thinking. Those exact words, by the way. Those exact words Max Holloway thought when Ilia Aptoro had heard him and then walked up to go feint the level change. Max was probably like, ah, fuck, you know. And then he lands a big combination. So there's little things like that, but it seems like Bo Nickal is completely and totally incapable of taking any fucking constructive criticism, because when you see, this is the problem, I think, too. You get this with, even fans do this, dude. Even fans do this. You will have fans that give complete and total legitimate criticisms of certain fighters. And they will get lumped in with the fans that are just haters or whatever the fuck in the comment sections that say unhinged shit and don't ever offer actual criticism. And then they get labeled as like racist or fucking Islamophobic or some shit. And it's like, no, dude, I'm not, you're not listening, you know? So it's whatever.
So it's confusing because I'm like, wait, what? Like, how do you get that from that? I looked at the strike count in the first round and it was like 60. It said he landed like 15 significant strikes. I was like, what? Like he kicked my arms, you know? Like, are we counting block kicks as significant strikes now? Like, what's going on here? This is so weird. I didn't even get really touched. Like, it was just crazy.
Bro, he's still upset about that. He brought that up earlier, but you know what else is funny, dude? Again, lack of self-awareness. Oh really, Bo? Oh really, dude? Are we counting checked leg kicks as significant strikes now? That's what I would follow. Like, Helwani doesn't push back, and I get it. He's Helwani, and also he's trying to probably keep a decent relationship with a guy that maybe gets him views and stuff like that, but the same thing could apply to you, which, by the way, I saw body kicks land cleanly. I just rewatched the first round this morning before I started. It's fucking 5:45, bro. It's 5:45 a.m. right now. I watched that fight at 4:30 in the morning. He landed body kicks. Legitimately landed body kicks. He legitimately landed a check left hook on you multiple times, by the way. He landed left hooks that when you would get out of the way of them, they would land to your ribs and shit, to the body. Just because your arms are out here, or just because something goes off your arm, doesn't mean it doesn't land. Which we saw this from Bo Nickal in the first round. He would throw an overhand, it would go off Paul Craig's shoulder and kind of hit him in the head. That gets counted, bro. You know? So, whatever. It's just, yeah. That's about, people don't know what they're looking at, dude. They just don't understand my striking mastery. Hello? They just don't understand my striking mastery, you know? Hilarious. And like I pointed out, the contradiction of, well, I don't really care because it's just drunk fans, but also Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan, and they don't know what they're looking at. Bo Nickal is delusional. He's always been delusional, and I think now we just get a good example of it. And again, I'm really sick of people bringing up the fact that he's only had whatever it is. You know, how many fights does he have now in the UFC? 7? What is he? 7-0? Bro, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. If you don't have enough, you can't do, bro, you can't do that. Okay? That's like if you lie on your resume, right? And then you end up getting the job. And then you get there and you don't know how to do it. And your boss is like, "Hey, what the fuck, bro?" You go, "Yeah, bro, I'm new to this." Stop acting like you're new to combat sports, my guy. How many fucking wrestling matches do you have, for crying out loud? You know? And if you didn't want to be fighting dudes that are mediocre, okay, by UFC standards, then you shouldn't have came to the UFC so early. You should have been like, "Nah, I'm gonna wait." You know, I appreciate the offer, Dana White, for the Contender Series, but I'm gonna go get some experience over there. I'll pull up when I'm like, what? I don't know at this point. When does this stop? When do you get to stop using this as an excuse? When exactly? In 3 more fights, is he gonna be like, "Well, I'm only 10-0, you know? I'm only 10-0." With more combat sport experience than the vast majority of guys in this sport. So, I don't know what else to say about this dude. Bo Nickal, fucking delusional. Go fight a chimp, little bro. That's what he should do. That's what he should do now. You know what, Bo Nickal? I agree with you. You could beat a chimp. That's what you should do to gain the fans back that you think you're losing or something. You should set up a cage match with the chimp and go choke him out, and then we'll all believe in you again. Okay? Anyways, dude, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.